I'm gonna press record this time. There we go.
Okay. So
I
I don't know
tell
if
you.
you have anything in that first session that you want to recover just before so it doesn't get lost in whatever.
Yeah, so I wrote down the things I remembered we talked about, which at my age is always impressive.
Yeah.
Um, but I know we started with talking about songwriting. You mentioned in one of your emails one of your passions is songwriting, and clearly we've
Yeah.
seen that through the different bands you played with and the songs you've written, as well as your last solo album and your upcoming new solo album. But I want to get back to the beginning. You mentioned in on your website somewhere about you really learned a lot from Walter Zawel about songwriting. So you take me back to the time of Brutus and that piece.
Well, yeah, the reason I joined them, well, I was sort of blacklisted in Vancouver. and and I saw this band at the Breakers, which is in Point Roberts, which is just down the street from Tsawwassen, where I live. Yeah, and and this band was there, and they had tons of energy, and it was quite remarkable. And they did 4 hours of original material,
Oh wow.
and so I thought that's pretty cool because I'd been in a band called Crosstown Bus that was probably the number one cover band in BC, sort of a band, and and I just thought, well, there's not much future in that. And anyway, so I saw this band. I thought they were from Seattle. So I went down and got talking to them, hit it off with Walter Zwolinski, the Zwol, and the next thing I know, I'm on a plane to Toronto. They're not from Seattle. They're from Toronto, which was anyway. They so yeah, he had a great way of writing, coming up with ideas, and some of them were a little outside, and eventually that got to be a bit too much, so I moved on. But yeah, I don't know how to describe what he did. I can remember I sang lead on one of the song called Ride Cowboy Ride, Ride Cowboy Ride with your guns down by your side. And I can't remember any more of it, but it bopped along quite nicely. But just the chord progression stuff, somehow it kind of got through to me. And I realized at that time what I'd been doing wrong. And it was interesting since we talked. I remembered I think it might have been my very first song. And in those days, I thought you had to write poetry. And I'm actually on a songwriter's, uh, what do you call them, site on Facebook or something. And it's interesting how many of the people there are writing poetry. And it's kind of like, I think that can work for some artists. And I think imagery is wonderful and important. But it came across as pretentious, and I can remember now the lyrics. It was blue was the night, soft flame, its tongue caressing each lip with a song. It curls among the autumn leaves across the open fields and lights on my window sill. The gentle wind sighs neath the gentle wind sighs neath the something of the night and falls back calm under turquoise light. It's a blue evening. And as I said, and it's kind of, I don't hate it, you know what I mean? But it's a little bit much. Um, but the interesting thing about that song, is I had I don't know. Let me know if this is too loud. It started out. Blue was the night, soft flavor's tongue, caressing each lip with a song. Curls among the leaves across the open fields and lightens up my windowsill. The gentle wind, I forget where it's gentle winds. Anyway, it's a blue evening. Blue evening. And so that was the song, right? Um, and just from a songwriting point of view, where did I kind of get that from? Well, the feel, and I actually wanted it to be. There's a song I did with Union called Invitation, And I used to, when I had my own band after I stopped working with Randy Bachman, I used to open with it. And what it was the feel was stolen or inspired by Joe Cocker, his version of With a Little Help from My Friends.
Okay.
And it was this, and it goes, and the snare drum was on 1, 2, on 3, instead of 2 and 4. And I always thought that was a really cool feel. So that song, Blue Evening, was supposed to have ba-rum, bop, bop, but the actual piano part was stolen from Chopin.
Oh, really?
If I can remember. Whatever. Something, I think it's that. I'm trying to think. Anyway, so that's kind of where I was, because I was playing classical music at university, and so that was kind of my language, and it still is my inspiration. Those little bits, like I always loved Brahms, and I was going to get to something about songwriting. Because I was thinking about our conversation, debriefing what I screwed up or misled on, and I used to get asked, "Do you write the lyrics or the music first?" And my answer to that is always yes. And, and people get really irritated, right? Which is what I kind of like to do. I like to be irritating, right? Because both. So, and both, or sometimes, so sometimes it'll be simultaneous, sometimes it'll be one or the other. And it's interesting. And a lot of it, when I write the music first, it's usually sitting at my grand piano. My grand piano, what I'm playing here right now is just a MIDI controller, and it's really handy for throwing ideas into the computer. So if I think of something, and just the other day I was sitting at the grand piano though, and it's got a warmth to it and a depth to it, and it's like it immerses you in the sound. And I always loved Brahms, and when I my little idea of classical, I just played Chopin, which is kind of up in here. Beethoven, kind of up in there. Brahms was Beethoven. That's down a little lower. But Brahms was, and it's lower down, and there's a sonority to it that I always loved. So I really like Brahms. Anyway, the other night I'm just doing, I don't know what, I had been practicing some tunes in case I ever get a gig. Excuse me. And I came across a chord, and it just, excuse me, I have a sip of tea here. And for me, sometimes a chord will convey a feeling, and that feeling is the kickstart to a song. Now, this one's probably too sad to ever become anything, but I really like it. And this is what I came up with last night or the day before, was this chord. And there's just something about the tension of that. Da, da, da. And that's all I've got, right? But I think I can turn that into something. There's a tension. And I wouldn't sing that with it. I would go probably. Dum dee da dum da. Button da 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 da. Dee da 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 da. da 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 da, dee, dee, da da, right? And so that for me might be the potential for a song. And then the other side of that is what I mentioned to you the other day, where in my phone I have under everybody has keep notes or notepad. I hit that and I go down there and I have things usually that in the middle of the night I'll wake up and go, well, that's a weird turn of a phrase. And I'll go, I got to write that. There's one here, waiting for the doorbell to ring. And to me that's an idea for a song because it has a picture attached to it. And I always found it interesting. I watched an interview with I don't know who it was from the Eagles. Maybe it was the whole band. And they were saying what they do when they write a song is somebody draws a picture of the song. And I thought that's fascinating. And when you think about it, I've been running down the road trying to loosen my load, 7 women on my mind or whatever it is, 4 that want to own me. And all you would have to have for that is a desert scene with a gas station in the middle of nowhere, right, and a cactus. And you've got an image for the song, right?
It's a great idea for creative writing assignment, actually.
What's that?
That's a great creative writing assignment idea.
Absolutely. And you think about Hotel California, right? Well, you got this place where you can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. I mean, what a great line that is, right? So my fascination in why I'm still writing songs is a fascination with words and wordplay. And so the other night I thought, oh, English is a stupid language. I mean, it's just, I was thinking of a word. It was, oh yeah, ear, E-A-R, is ear sound, but earth is right? And it's like E-A, it's spelled the same. It's like, I had all these ESL students, and I don't know how they picked up English so fast. It was remarkable. I was always thought these kids are a lot smarter than me, but it's a fascination with the sound of a word, and so when I'm writing, that's what kind of appeals to me. I'm just going to see if there's anything interesting here that jumps out. Oh, it's a grocery list, but that could be a song. Oh dear. Oh, here's one called To the Exclusion of All Else. I could get caught up in the troubles of the world. I could wave a flag that's best kept furled. I don't get to use the word furled very often. And then could wave a flag that's best kept furled. I could hurl a rock that someone mad had hurled, or I could ignore the swine for you, my pearl. I will cleave you. So that's just the ramblings of a person that's half asleep, and I keep my phone right by my head, and if I wake up in the night, I can go to the exclusion of all else. And so that title to me is going to be, that'd be a love song, right? I want to be with you to the exclusion of all else, and that's kind of the theme for the song I had on the It's About Time album called what is it called? I Have No Desire. And the title is very misleading. I have no desire doesn't mean I need to take Viagra. It means the full. I have no desire for anything in life but you. So that's a mushy love song, right? I have no desire to climb the highest mountain, no desire to navigate the sea. And that kind of lyric writes itself, because once you say I have no desire to climb the highest mountain, then it becomes a list song. Not L-L-I-S-T, the composer, but so the next line is good. I have no desire to cross the ocean. I have no desire to discover America, right? So they kind of write themselves. And so that's why, like a line like that, just writing that down, I'm gonna look. Life, oh, this is interesting. Life's a song, and then it says, and all I wrote down is when the song is nearly over. Well, if you think about that, the stage is set, the crowd's alive, right? That's the same theme as when the symphony is over, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So it's like, and I don't know, and I'm not being judgmental. The other day, I read You Be Quiet, Wyatt. See, when I was growing up, I still haven't grown up, by the way. the fun thing about music is there were stupid songs, like just stupid songs. Like one of my favorites, I have a 1952 jukebox which I bought off Randy Bachman, and I got it refurbished, repainted it myself. It's the same jukebox that they had on Happy Days, so it's kind of cool, right?
That's
And
awesome.
in there, I've got things like the Jolly Green Giant, and the great, I don't know if you know that song, but the great thing about that song is the background answer. See, so heard about the Jolly Green Giant, broccoli, dee da 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 da, asparagus, and it's just stupid, right? And it's just fun, and so that's kind of always in my mind. So this one, be quiet, Wyatt. That's just the sound. Quiet rhymes with Wyatt, right? And it's like, what, and I think I wrote a song about something about rhymes with orange, just because everybody says nothing rhymes with orange. And of course things rhyme with orange, but they're not smorange. They'll be something that has to be morphed a little bit. And so I really like in my lyrics to not always do an absolute rhyme. At one point I had a rhyming dictionary, and I'd open it up to get a rhyme for something. It'd be like, well, there's 16 examples there, but I know those are stupid. I know more than those, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like I matter. And what I end up doing is I try to do internal rhymes. And I was talking to you last time about ground round, which is a reference to grinding out a song called Round Round We Go. Ground round and round, I'm down in downtown nowhere. And the inspiration, of course, was the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain from My Fair Lady. So it's just a word game, right? But to put the rhymes in the middle. And I still like to do that rather than have it rhyme. And then the rhyme at the end, not every two lines rhyme. I'll do a rhyme on line one and go off somewhere else for the second or third line, and then I'll bring it back and have a rhyme on the fourth line. So and that's just, I don't know, just a preference. It doesn't have to be that way. Oh, here's a good idea for a song. Fridge upstairs, 27 inches wide, 30 inches deep, and 64 inches high. Oh, that's not a song idea. Sorry. Oh, here's one. Not gonna grow old gracefully. Cut me down to size, I'll rise back up. Still gonna drink from an empty cup. And that's horrible. But the idea of not gonna grow old gracefully is a rock anthem, right?
Yeah.
We're not gonna take it anymore. Old Dog, spelled Dawg, New Tricks. Would you like to save the world, or at least a little part of it? Oh, here's one. It was the best of times, the worst of times. The worst of times, the Dickens, you say. Never so bad it can't get worse. Might want to curse, better to pray. And then I have the little ray of sunshine, spelled R-A, could darken any room. Smitten with his own self. And I didn't use those lines, but that was a shot at Ray McGuire and Brian Smith, smitten, because we used to call him Smitty, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I, yeah, anyway, so I left that alone. I did that, the heck with that. And I went with the box spring was concrete, the window bars still steel. The neighbors were rocking, too numb to feel. No sleep for the wicked, no cure for the cold, but playing the music never grew old. So that's one that I've actually turned into a song. Cockroach in the kitchen was giant and real. We had smoke on the water on the highway to hell. Crew cab blew engine before Cultus Lake. See, now this is all true stuff, right? But in actual fact, we blew the engine on our band truck just outside of a place called Midway, which is kind of it's halfway from Vancouver to the Alberta border. And we were actually not on our way to Cultus Lake. We were on our way to Christina Lake, which is a beautiful lake, and there's a resort there, and we were playing a gig there. We actually made it to the gig, but it was with a blown. We had to have our vehicle. We had to be towed, so we pull into the gig being towed, our truck being towed. Um, Pavilion kept rocking, sun is still unbaked. Made it. Oh, and I didn't use this part. Made it on time, covered in oil. Tow truck from Midway, limo royale. Oh, see, there's an example of a rhyme. Oil. and I rhymed royale with it. And it's not a rhyme, but it's you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that kind of stuff works. So kids are teaching creative writing. They're so forced on that exact rhyme. And so it's
Yeah,
cool to hear you say that you can play with words. That's the concept of writing, is to play with words.
absolutely. Yeah, and of course, I grew up. They used to have, you know how you have baseball cards, and there'd be this little slab of the worst gum in the world in them. Well, maybe that predates your time.
Oh,
But
I've had those for hockey cards for sure.
yeah. Anyway, so in my time, they had Valentine's ones, and it would always be, you know, a goofy picture, kind of like from Mad Magazine. Roses are red, violets are blue. You'd look good with your head in glue, right? And they were always stupid rhymes, and it was funny down and the gum was horrible. So we would collect those, and excuse me, early morning, whatever. Uh, but that was I hear lyrics in songs today that are basically on that level, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, come on, please, you know, this is not necessary, right? So to me, I'd rather rhyme oil and royale. Uh,
So is that song Best of Time? Is that called Best of Times? Is that a rocking song? It just feels like it'd be an upbeat
well,
song.
well, as a matter of fact, why don't I'll play you a little bit of it. I gotta come out of there, go away, go away. Um, I don't know if I have to show you the screen. Let me think here. I gotta, sorry, I'll be with you in a second
Oh, no
here.
problem.
Frank Ludwig, yeah. And this is under, I gotta go find Sparks Are Gonna Fly. And there we go, album mixes, tracks, there we go. Best of Times, there we go. Hello, okay. Oh, it's fourth, number 4.
Ah.
Ooh.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Volume okay?
Yeah. Excellent.
The frame was concrete, the windows were steel. Neighbors were rocking, I'm too numb to feel. No sleep for the wicked, no cure for the cold. Playing the music never grew old. It was the best of times, the worst of times. The worst of times, the things you say. That's the man I can't get first. I want to curse, better to pray. The things you say. Cockroach in the kitchen, the giant and real. We're smoke on fire on a highway to hell. Two cabin winches before Culver's Lake. The melodies kept rocking, some still don't fade. It was the best of times, the worst of times. The worst of times, the things you say. There's a man I can't get first. I want to curse, better to pray. The things you say. But there was always the music, sweet soul music. Music that carries the day. No matter how bad you try, they always get better when Frankie came out to play.
Gotta play along, right?
One set, two sets, three sets, 4. Leaving the crowd wanting more. Born to be wild, funky talk stones. G-L-O-R-I-A, alright now. It was the best of times, the worst of times. The worst of times, the things you said. Never so bad, I can't get first. I want to curse, better to pray. The things you said. It was the best of times. The best of times, the things you said. Never so bad, I can't get first.
Cut off the last word.
That was
Anyway,
excellent. I loved how you started. I don't like most songs today is they'll go right into the chorus or off the bat or right into a verse. Having that musical intro to start was awesome. Really set the tone for that
yeah.
rock song.
Well, it's interesting because the feel for the down ba da da down 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 down. I decided, not you don't write every song to be the hit, but I wanted to do a kind of a riff rock song, right? And it was actually a little bit inspired by a song by a band called Spirit. Let me take you, baby, down. And it had a riff. There was a let me take you, baby, down to the river's bend. Got to get you down. I got a line on you, baby. Just called I Got a Line on You. And so it was a little bit like that, right? But so it was just kind of like, I like that song. And a bit of a story that goes with Spirit. I think it was Crosstown Bus. One of this early band I was in. We were playing in Detroit at a place called Cobo Hall, which is a really cool old theater, kind of like, well, let's see, what would it be in Regina? Well, the Jubilee Theater or something like that, only a lot older. And it had a theater organ in it, and it was the coolest thing because it would come up out of the floor, and you'd play the organ, and I got to play it, and it would be attached, and up in the side, on either side of the proscenium arch, there would be like a real giant bass drum, and you could actually play the drums. There would be instruments up there, and you could control it all from the pipe organ. It was like, that's because it would be in the silent movie days, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
you wouldn't have a soundtrack. You would have a guy at the organ playing, and you tied her to the railway tracks, right? And the train was getting closer. So that was the day of it, right? So that was cool. Anyway, Spirit was the headliner, and we were opening. And, and in the afternoon, we hear them. They come in, and in their dressing room, they're they're playing the Trogs' "Wild Thing,"
Mm.
which is like a horrible song. It's just to me, it's just like ew. Anyway, why are they doing? Oh, well, they're just having fun, right? Anyway, this was going to be the big show because they had a guy with them whose name was Randy California. And Randy California was this legendary guitar player. So I was like, ooh, this is going to be exciting. Anyway, they get to the gig and they actually played Wild Thing. And we play and we're doing a couple of original things, but mostly cover tunes. And we're getting booed, and it's really quite unpleasant. It's like you kind of, I wouldn't say unpleasant. It was just disheartening, right? Because we were a pretty decent band. I'm not sure if we had Blair Thornton, who went on to BTO in the band at that time, but some Dave Johnson on drums, really good drummer. And anyway, so it was a bit disheartening. And so we're sitting there listening to Spirit, and and they go in and they play Wild Thing, and it's like, well, I could teach a 2-year-old to play that thing. It's a little bit like Louie, only not as interesting. And anyway, the crowd goes crazy. They're loving it. It's like, really? They did not play their big hit, which was "Line on You." And
Really?
what it was is they actually couldn't play. They weren't good enough to play their own song,
Oh, wow.
their and it was like, well, that's it. But the crowd absolutely adored them. And I was like, wow, why do I even bother? Uh-oh. We got the 10-minute warning here. Yeah,
So
yeah,
back to
yeah.
that last song you played. Well, the great song, but yeah, what I liked about it also is you had a really blazing guitar solo. I found in the early '80s, both Iron Horse and Union, you had those solos, and they kind of in mid '80s they kind of went away from solos. So anything about the significance of guitar solos in a lot of your work?
Well, yeah, and the thing about guitar solos that for me there's two kinds of guitar solos. There's one that just shows off, that is for the guitar player to show off how great he is and how fast he is and how he aspires to be what was his name? Who was probably the best from Van Halen?
Oh,
Oh,
Eddie
yeah,
Van Halen?
Eddie Van Halen. Yeah, that guy. I'm Yeah, or a Steve Lukather or somebody like that. They're obviously awesome players, and they got speed and skill and all that stuff. But I prefer kind of the Randy Bachman approach to things where it's a hook. And so, for instance, in Round Round, the intro had to be a hook. Down, 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 down. That's a hook, right? And so you do an intro hook, you do a verse, and you have a chorus hook. That to me, that's like writing a book. That's the title of the book is the chorus, right? And then the verses are the exposition where they tell the story, flesh it out a little bit. Flesh, depends on whether it goes in the toilet or not. Anyway, to tell, round out the story, and then you go back to the hook again. And then in the good old days, you'd want to break it up a little bit, and you'd either break it up with a guitar solo and or a bridge. And so the guitar at that point, and that was something I think I brought to Trooper, and Randy did as well. For instance, Two for the Show. I think Randy and I basically taught that to Smitty, and he was a fast learner, and dee da da dee da da dee da da dum ba da. So it was a melody of its own. And then you think I would mention the other day about Randy doing da 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 dum ba dum da 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 dum ba dum ba da da dum. See, I can still sing that, and they did that in the 60s, American Woman. But it's a line you can remember, and so and you think of Joe Walsh tunes, or Eagles, Hotel California. You could probably sing that guitar line, right? They're entities unto themselves, and they're related to the song. So I don't like solos that don't, and even especially in jazz, where it just goes like crazy. And it's like, well, that solo could fit in 20 other songs, and yeah, that's your hot licks. But what has it got? Why is it in this song? So make it work, make it be part of the song. So start off at least with a couple of notes from the melody, and then go off on a tangent, right? So
Yeah,
I'm big on that still.
yeah, I like you say that because I find in a lot of the work that you're in, but in the '80s and now, your instrumental breaks just help tell the story. They don't go off course. I mean, when I watch a show live, I don't mind a 6-minute guitar solo that
Yeah,
goes crazy and has some fun. But in a
yeah,
song, it should keep the flow of the song going. And I think your bands in the '80s and Trooper, of course, too, near the last part of the '70s, and of course your solo album do that. You have these unique guitar solos, and a couple other times you have the keyboard solos in your last album that just keep the song going and yet surprise you at the same time.
you know what? I listen to stuff usually on the late night shows, and the piano parts, and these will be big hits, very successful. And the piano part would be da dee da 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 whatever, and then it goes to the chorus, da da da, and then it goes to the bridge. No, there is no bridge, and then it stops, and that's the ending. So to me, it's lazy music. There's no intro, there's no ending, there's seldom a bridge, and that piano part is like. So I would. That's just an F chord. But what's interesting is then I go to that's I don't know, what is that? Oh, it's a G half diminished seventh over a B flat. Creates a tension. And that's almost like the new one, right? So, and even that's really just the chords, but just in a broken pattern, right? And I got on my new album a song I did a long time ago, which was the follow-up to Quiet Desperation in my mind anyway, which is this. that's it's a power ballad, you know, and it really rocks out at the end. That's the thing. I don't write tender ballads for the most part. I got a few, but I usually like them to rock.
Well, it's
So
interesting
yeah,
with that quiet Desperation song. So I went back after we chat and listened to the Trooper version. And then I listened to on your website, you have the one that you and Randy Bachman did. And they're
yeah.
night and day different. Well, one's just
Oh,
I mean, nothing wrong with the Trooper version. It's a nice ballad. But
yeah. So
this newer, well, I guess not newer, a lot newer to 81, but it's just a
later, yeah.
bluesy
Well,
rock, feel good song. Like
oh,
I
it's
kept
just
in my
got so
head,
much
and
more.
the
Yeah.
guitar work in there just takes it to a new level.
Well, yeah, and that's if we'd had Randy produce the Flying Colors album, that's how it would have gone, right? But we got Howard Steele. I think we're going to run out how much time? Oh, we got 3 minutes still. Yeah, and it's interesting because in some ways, like round round we go. Now, did you find on the CD that you got? Did you find the second CD in there
Yeah, with the four acoustic songs. Yeah,
with the unplugged songs? Yeah.
yeah.
Um, well, something's going weird with my screen. Anyway, on that, I did what I wanted to have happen in the original Round Round We Go with Trooper, but I didn't think they were vocally able to pull it off. And it was basically to do a round. Round, round, we round, 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 and back and for round, round we go. And then finally come out round, round we go at the end, right? And so I did that on the unplugged version, because I could and wanted to, right? So, and again, it's kind of having fun with. Oh, I'm getting a thing here. It says Dwayne Jeffries' network bandwidth is low.
Yeah.
So you need to stop more or something. I don't know. Anyway, so something's happening to your bandwidth.
When we take a break here, I'll hook it up to my
Well,
right to my ether cord.
we're gonna refire up in a few minutes. I'll send you a new invitation and we'll carry on.
Yeah, it's
Why
a
don't
good time to stop then.
Huh?
We'll come back and talk about round round we go.
Sure. Okay. They may make me us wait 10 minutes. Oh, you're back. But anyway, but I think we're almost out of time. So okay, I'll re-invite you.
Sounds good.
See
See you
you
later.
later, dude. Yeah. Bye. And.